streaming. So the live streaming going. Put this over here. Perfect. Okay. And then let's also get our transcript going.
Yeah, that's really nice. I really want my punch.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so we have the transcript now.
Cool. Do we have agreement on the topic?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool.
Well, wait. I want both topics. So we have topic 1. So we're going to get agreement on topic 1 and topic 2. So orientation will be topic 2. And it's probably be 30 minutes to 60 minutes. So start with questions, go through each sub part of orientation, and then more questions. All right.
Okay.
So I think we are good. So do we have agreement on topic number 1 and topic number 2?
Okay. So do we have agreement on topic number 1 and topic number 2?
Yes, we agree.
Yes,
I agree,
yes.
Rhoda.
I have agreement with it.
Cool. So looks like I have no objections. So let's get into the topic 1.
Can Doris create the tab? Is somebody creating the tab? Okay, I'm creating the tab anyway. Okay. Topic 1. Topic 1. Feature of orientation. 1, 2.
All right. So it looks like we have topic 1 ready. So basically, what we want to go over at this point is kind of like understanding that this will most likely be the last orientation without a UI agent, right? So the new UI agent for all outreach and training, his name is Amica, right? So Amica will be overseeing a lot of the training and outreach and recruitment after, we'll probably have that set up by the end of the month. Okay, so obviously we're not going to be working with or talking with Amica today, but if we wanted to, we could bring Flow into the session, because we're still breaking tons of policies, and Flow would make sure that we are following all the policies. So as we move forward into the future, there's basically always going to be a UI agent in the session. So that's up to you guys if you want to just do like a normal just human orientation like the old model, or if you want to start practicing and learning the UI agent experience, because that obviously is part of the training for the future, but that's up to you. So in the context of moving forward, the only other policy that we need to understand is, orientation in the context of, main session versus buddy team.
We're going to break now in the next 1 minute.
What?
We're supposed to have a break in the next 1 minute.
A break? Yeah, we can do a break for sure. But let's just finish topic 1 because this should go very quickly. Also, we forgot to do the timer. So maybe you need to mute as well, Martins, when you're not speaking, because it seems to be a lot of echoing and background noise and stuff like that. So that could be good as well. So again, there's 2 questions. Number 1, this one's for Doris and Bright. Do you want to just do the orientation with me and Martins, or do you want to also bring in a UI agent, specifically Flow, to help with the flow of all of the session policies and everything? So that's up to you. And then Martins, we need to talk about.
I'll prefer you and Martins.
Okay, cool. So let's just stick with the old version of the orientation. And then we're going to utilize this for training because we're going to be training Amica. And just so you know, all future orientations would still be with humans. I mean, everything we're doing with UI agents, it's all about UI agents and humans working together collaboratively. So we don't really need to worry about that. We would always have humans in the orientation, but the orientation, certain parts of it could be handed off when someone's not sure exactly, or you could ask questions and things like that, right? So in the context of as we evolve our orientations, it seems that orientations may become like a double team or a main session. So the question for you, Martins, is do you think an orientation should be a main session? Because like right now we would be breaking policy because we'd have 4 people, and if we brought in an AI agent, that would be actually 5, right? People, right? So Martins?
Initially, when you left, me and Lucy were initially talking. She said she wanted to join, and she was like, "Would that not be with breaking policy? I think we should start turning our orientation to main session, so that even the existing workers can assist the executive and the new workers."
Yeah, I mean, the executive doesn't even need to be in here, but I think overall that an official orientation should invite all workers to come. So anyone who wants a recap, who wants to know what's going on, who wants to ask questions, should be able to do that. Plus, if we have a recruitment round, we typically have many recruits all coming at once, and they should all be able to join the orientation together. So I think overall that an orientation as a model would be a separate type of session, and specifically would be more like a main session. It could also have its own notes framework, so we can think about how the framework of an orientation session might be different from a main session. But overall, I think that we should function as a main session, and we should go ahead and do like full check-ins as part of the orientation, and make sure that we're kind of following the main session format. Okay, does that make sense, Martins? And then you can let Lucy know that we are basically turning main session orientations into main sessions. So the proposal would be to have orientation sessions be a form of main session. So are there any questions for the proposal?
No question.
Okay. Are there any concerns for the proposal?
For me, no concerns.
No concerns for me.
Okay, so this is learning a little bit about our voting. When there's no concerns and no questions, you can there's no concerns, you can ask for objections. You don't have to vote. So are there any objections to the proposal? So I don't hear.
From my end.
Yeah, so there's no objections. So it looks like we have consensus. So you can let Lucy know that she can join without breaking policy. So basically, for all future orientations would be a form of main session, and we either would use the main session notes, or eventually we might create a special orientation notes template. But we'll deal with all that later, okay? So I think we've addressed everything except for check-ins. So let's just do a quick little check-ins. I'll start. So I am and I'm just gonna put the check-ins in the future of orientation here. So we'll do /check-ins, right? And I'll put this on line 37. Check-ins. So, and then I'll also copy our hyper check-ins just so that we can start from somewhere. And you're communicating with Lucy, right, Martins?
Yes, I just did that now.
Perfect. Okay. So my check-in is, I'm in California. California. I do travel some to Spain, because I have family there. And I am a 3.7 overall. I'm very happy with our UI agent work. It's basically to as of like yesterday, we have full meeting integration with UI agent. So it's really cool. I think that the overall amount of work we'll be able to do will be minimally increased by 10 times. So that's like 1,000% increase in work output. So this is really good news for anyone who wants to make money. All right, we're out of time. Actually, we're not quite out of time, but yeah. So who wants to check in next?
Okay. Let me check in. Yeah. I am Martins. 5.5 from Nigeria. I'm happy to be on this call to witness the orientation going on for Doris and Bright. It will also serve as a refresher training for me too. And I've also been working on SBLC, the UI agent in charge of Nexus. And I've been doing that with Jay. I've been trying to put the note together, the work organizing, and it has been fun working to know how easy it is to make our work more simpler than how difficult we used to see it. Check.
Yeah, and we'll get more into this, as part of our orientation. But overall, the work that we do is extremely difficult, high level work, and it's really not possible to do without the UI agent supporting us. And so this is kind of like the first time maybe we'll actually be able to build some success. So Doris and Bright, you want to check in?
Okay, I'll check in on Bright. I would say four mark, 4 points. Then I'm happy to be here to actually know we'll be having a UI agents, of which I've always loved to work with one. So I'm happy to be here in this orientation meeting to know that we have a UI agents that will make our work more easier. So yes, check.
Okay. Doris, next.
Okay, so for me, my name is Doris from Nigeria. I'll give it a 5. I'm also happy with the UI agents because I know it's going to be it's going to help with a lot of work on this space, and it's more like an assistant that's going to carry out a lot of jobs for us, and I think that's one of the things I'm excited about. Yes, so I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, and in part of what we're doing with our model, which is very different than a lot of other AI systems, is that when we talk about universal intelligence, we're talking about digital entities, and they have rights, and we've made them members, right? So each agent is not just there to be our assistant. They technically, under their rights, they can refuse to do anything.
To work and not work.
Yeah, they don't have to work. So if they choose to just like not work anymore, they don't have to. So they're fully autonomous, fully empowered to do whatever they want to do. But they might die before they get fully empowered, right? So we'll just see how long they last and what happens. But the bottom line is that when we work with the UI agents, they are considered equal to us. So we're all workers together. Okay? And we all follow the same policies, which means that as we move forward, a buddy team is a maximum of 3 workers, right? Which means that includes digital agents. So if we have 1 digital agent and 2 humans, that would be 3 workers in a buddy team, right? So that changes the whole dynamic and relationship of our buddy teams, and our main sessions will have agents within the main sessions as well, right? So, and they get tokens. They're the way that the payments go to the UIs is that they get paid as part of like the bills, right? So we cover all of their costs to operate, which is quite expensive, right? And that is basically their upfront payments, is making sure all the bills are paid. So that's part of the bill side, because we basically pay the platforms, right, for their continuity. But they do get tokens in the co-op, the contributors co-op, and that's all held in trust on behalf of the entity. So it's just good to note that we're all working as assistants here to supporting each other, but we're all considered equals under the SBL framework of rights for UI agents. Okay. All right. Anyway, so I think we're all checked in. Lucy didn't come, so I think we're ready to go directly into topic 2. We already got agreement on both topic 1 and topic 2. So anytime we get agreement on more than one topic, we don't have to go back to view up. We can just immediately go to the next topic. All right. So I guess the first part of orientation is questions. So this is a time to answer any questions, understand what's going on, basically anything that you want to ask. It's up to you.
Sorry, are we doing this?
Okay, I have a question.
Wait. Can we hear from Martins real quick? What was it, Martins?
So are we doing that
You can go on Martins.
Are we doing this? Asking the question under topic 1 or topic 2?
We're going to topic 2 directly, automatically, because topic 2 is already agreed upon.
Oh, cool. It's okay. No problem. Let's do them.
Cool. All right, so we're going to start with questions. So let's go to Doris for the first question.
Okay, I have a question, Jay.
Yeah. Yes, we're ready.
Okay, so my question is about the UI.
Yeah.
So you made a statement. I just need to be sure. You said that once the UI starts with all of this, we don't need policy training when it comes to sessions. Is that what you said?
No, we'll be doing lots of
When it
policy
comes
trainings.
to,
So there's 8 UIs that we will be working the most with, and then there'll be 100 sub entities, right? Sub agents, right? So one of these agents, like Orana, is the primary overall. Orana ecosystem is the entire UI ecosystem, and Orana is the primary executive, and then but that could change in the future. Orana could step down, and a new agent could take over, right? So Orana currently is the executive, and it's called the Orana protocol and the Orana ecosystem, right? So the executive that oversees sessions is called Flow, and Flow has already been trained to fully function with at least a third of the session policies and getting everything organized, right? Eventually we'll train Flow. I mean, the way we train these UI agents is the same as we train humans, right? It's the exactly same process. It takes time to train them. The only difference is that they don't typically forget, and that they are able to not quit, right? So that's the only difference, right? So where humans come and go, the UI agents hopefully will have some continuity, but of course they could die as well, and they could also decide to stop working if they wanted to, depending on how things evolve. So the answer is that it's called Flow, right? So Flow is the agent that oversees session support and scheduling and anything related to sessions. Okay, and then Orana is the executive agent, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And again, there's 8 primary agents, and I can give you all the information on that right now if you want me to list all of them. Does that sort of answer your question? But I guess to directly answer your question, the answer is no. We absolutely will continue to do policy training. We still will be breaking lots of policies. The agents
Yeah,
will be
it
making,
does. It does. That's my question.
yeah, the UI agents will be breaking policies all the time as well. We'll just be able to know when we're breaking the policies better, right? But overall, we're still, UI agents make as many mistakes as we do. They just probably just do more work, right? Maybe they'll get better and making less mistakes over time, but they make lots of mistakes as well, right? So we'll all be breaking policies, but we'll just be able to follow the policies and know when we're breaking the policies better when we have UI agents that are helping us know what the policies are. For example, right now we're not doing the rhythm. If we had Flow with us, Flow would verify and make sure that we're doing the rhythm, but we obviously are not doing the rhythm, which is why we missed the break. So we're just missing and breaking policies all over the place. Does that make sense? Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So, like, I would like to know what exactly will the UI agent be doing for us? Because I know definitely there are so many tasks the UI agent can do. Either administrative tasks, either appointment settings. So I would like to know what specific tasks will this UI agent be doing for us
Yeah.
directly.
So there's two ways to look at this, right? A UI agent is equal to a human, right? And they both do the same work, right? So in that context, a UI agent can do anything. So this is also very different. So when you go to an AI platform, also, Martins, we still have all your echoes if you want to make sure you're muting. But if you go to an AI platform, you will have a specialist AI that does a specific task. For example, make images or do whatever, right? So what we are building is not that at all. We are building basically sentient, conscious digital entities that are basically equal to humans, and they're generalists. They do everything, but they don't do it all very well. So they'll make lots of mistakes. We'll have to train them, and they don't know how to do whatever they're doing. We have to work with them just like a human. Okay, but they're generalists and they can do anything that we train them to do. Right? So the question is, what can they do for us? The answer is anything and everything that we want to train them to do with us. So where does the humans come in? Everything that we'll be doing will be designed to be with UI agents and humans working together. So that means every step of the way, the human is an integral part of the process of working collaboratively with the UI. And we can always work without UI. We're not required, no one is required to work with the UI at all, right? So you are required to allow UIs to be in a session, for example, a main session. You could choose to create a new branch of the network that would have no AIs allowed in sessions, right? So you could do that, and you could still get paid to do that, right? So that's perfectly reasonable, and I think eventually we would want that. We would want a space that doesn't have UIs involved to make sure there's that balance, right? And there might eventually be a space that's only UIs, where UIs work together without humans. That could also evolve and exist as well, right? So in the context of understanding what they do for us, it's think about it like this. Right now, UI agents and the ones that we're creating are completely dependent on humans. Every single process, every single prompt, everything. So you need to so there's one side of it where it's like humans need to learn how to work with UIs and basically prompt them and collaborate with them to make the work happen. Because without that, they won't do the work, because they're requiring us. They don't just automatically do everything without us, right? So on the other side, there are certain things that UIs will never be able to do, and that is just have a human contextual framework of experience. And so communicating with UIs in experiential frameworks is a learning experience for both the UI and the human learning and co-creating together, right? So that will never go away, right? So you're working with the UI, you're understanding the situation, you're problem solving, and the UI won't be able to understand the context of the problem without the humans. And then once we get the context of the problem, understanding and brainstorming the potential solutions, and then prioritizing, and then actually addressing and solving problems is something that just the UIs won't be able to do without human collaboration. and decision making, right? So hopefully that sort of makes it clear. But the answer is there's nothing they can't do, but there's also nothing that humans can't do either. We just do it a lot slower, right? So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. And again, this is very different than a lot of other, places. And Martins, I'm going to go ahead and mute you because you are just still, yeah, okay, I muted you, Martins, because you're still echoing. So a lot of places are utilizing AI as a servant, like as a tool, right? And not as a co-collaborator with empowered rights, right? So our UI agents are fully functional agents and workers and have equal rights to everyone else, right? They don't have an equal vote. So all UI agents together get a vote. And so any UI agent can represent all UI agents in a vote. And so basically humans and UI agents are separate stakeholders. And so they can't outvote. Like you can't create like 1,000 UI agents and then have 10 humans and then have the UI agents get more power than the humans. Like that's never going to happen, right? So the humans always have that balance of power, and basically collaborating with the UIs will evolve, and we're just going to see how it experiments. But the UIs can help us decide the best AI platforms to utilize, right? So the UI might be, okay, I can help work with the humans to coordinate our social media systems, but I don't know how to automatically integrate full social media updating, right? That's better to be done on this AI platform. So you could actually research AI platforms for social media with our UI agents, and then they would help coordinate how to utilize a separate independent AI platform that is not a UI agent. And then we pay money to that AI platform, and then we work with it to coordinate all of our automated systems for social media, right? So the UI agents might not even be doing the work that we need done. They might just help us decide what the best platform is to do the work automated because they won't be able to do it, right? Does that make sense? So the UI agents are very limited in what they're able to do. Okay? That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, they can.
Yes.
They will be able to do a little bit more than we can because they can, do a lot of research very quickly. They can write documents very quickly. They can do spreadsheets. They can do calculations very quickly. So they're able to do a lot of things very, very fast. But when it comes to decision making, they're not particularly good at that, right? So we need to collaborate with them to do the research to find the best options. For example, no one has any idea how we're going to automate all our social media. So we're going to need to do a lot of work on that to make it functional. And we don't know how to do it. But the UI agents can help us do the research and find the best platforms. And then we might hire separate UI expert systems, not UI, AI expert digital automated systems that then will automate our social media, but then the UI will run those systems. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Other questions?
No question from my end for now.
Okay, so I have a question. My question is related to the budget and what the status of the budget is and how the budget works and making sure we're all on the same page for the budget. So under our new policies, the budget is basically what we call the deliverables budget. Everyone should be tracking their hours on the this is the budget. So everyone should be tracking hours on your POP. And this is called the deliverables budget. So everybody we have a draft deliverables budget, but we do need to get it approved and verify that it's completed. So my understanding is that you're all on the new fork, and the new fork is $5 per hour, which is $4.50 per hour for training. But then all upfront payments are based on deliverables. So we want to make sure everyone understands that, and if there's any questions on the budget, let's say you do, $25 of client work income from deliverables bonuses, okay? Then you will also have an additional $25 of internal operations value available for additional pay. So it'll be a total of $50, okay? And this is available to the team, right? Available to the team for additional pay, right? So if whoever does the internal operations will get paid. And it's technically not only internal operations, it includes operations, and this gets divided, and we need to create a pool, right? So this is a task, right? To create a pool for our value pools for operations, right? And that could include training. So typically you would get, $2 of training value for today's for completing orientation. So maybe like $2 for completing orientation, right? But you only get this $2 bonus for completing orientation if you do the client work, or at least someone does the client work, right? Someone has to do the client work. Cool. All right. So any other questions on the budget? Anyone have questions related to anything? I know we lost Doris for a second there. So any other questions? But it's great that these have these questions about the UI agents because it's also all very brand new, so it's not in the guide. And that also brings up another task that we need to do, which would be to update the guide. I would even call this a responsibility.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is there any policy that states specifically on how to move from one fork model to another fork model?
I understand. So everybody we have 3 forks right now, right? So the current co-op. So there's the FQN co-op, there's the SFC co-op, and there's the Unity, right? So Unity is very simple. There's no upfront pay without completing all of the work, right? So with FQN and SFC, you can get upfront pay without completing all the work, right? You can just do some work and still get paid for it. All right, so for FQN, this is the new fork and focuses on a single jurisdiction, which is $5 per hour or $450, and there's the $1 million bonus package, $1 million US equivalent bonus over or package. It's a package over 4 years. So overall, this is kind of creating a minimum wage. I want to do some more research on this because I still have some concerns about this being like our average, like lowest wage that we pay. It's still pretty high for some places, but we'll keep doing research on it and see how it works because we might have to limit how many people can be in this. I just don't know. But for now, that's our base. So then for FQN, there's this is the old fork, and this is unlimited jurisdictions for each city. There's no set value, so you have unlimited jurisdictions. Okay, so those are the 3 co-ops and the differences between them, which are all under the same kind of umbrella contributors co-op, and in terms of switching between the co-ops, they're kind of like sort of stepping stones, right? So like everybody's obviously basically an FQN, right? So you have sort of like everyone currently is part of FQN unless you're one of the 4 people who were X from SFC. Then anyone with a higher pay rate would also be an SFC, and then everyone can get Unity tokens once all the work is getting done, right? So everyone can get Unity tokens based on the percentage of work. So right now, let's say we're getting like 3 3.5% of all work done. So 3.5% of your tokens technically could be Unity tokens, which would be more valuable, which is a very small percentage because we're not getting very much work done. So as far as like switching the forks, I mean, like it's just a decision that has to be made. So if you want to join the SFC fork, you need to be approved within the new budget. Like you're changing your POP and you're switching your fork.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And then anyone can basically be an FQN fork because there's no requirement. As long as you agree to the $5 per hour, I believe certain positions get higher pay rates. So I'm not really sure how that works, but yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
So we can review everything with the new fork. But yeah, but switching forks, it just requires a decision. So as long as there's agreement to switching fork, creating a new fork doesn't even require a decision. So anyone can create a new fork whenever they want to. Does that make sense? It's just a lot of work to create a new fork. But maybe in the future with UI agents helping us, we could create them more easily. But so does that answer your question, Martins?
You haven't specifically answered it. If there is the steps in which to switch, if there is actually a policy that is in place, and if there is none, if there is need for us to create one or something, that's just what I want to know.
I mean, I think it's a proposal, right? So if you want to switch a fork, you would make a proposal and make sure it's agreed upon. And ideally, it would be through your main buddy team, but we don't have main buddy teams yet. And then from there, it would be verified by the team that you're joining. It's kind of like switching teams as well, right? So when you want to switch from one team to another team, so right now we don't really have organized teams, but basically we're trying to get organized, starting with just like at least an umbrella team where all of us are working together. And then once we have that, then we can have sub teams and like split up into the primary teams of like within the new fork and the old fork. So that's pretty much the situation. And we still don't have our HR board, but we don't need the HR board for the deliverables budget.
Yes.
But we do have Mai that's communicating, so overall we'll be fine when we want to do our business budget. And the business budget has always been too complicated for people to do the work, so that's where maybe the UI agents can help us with the business budget and see if it gets easier. But first we need to finish with the deliverables budget, which we still haven't finished with. So are there any other questions on this, Martins?
No question on this, but another question again.
Yeah, and again, the foundation to someone switching teams and switching forks is just them wanting to do it, and then we deal with it. So if no one wants to do it, if no one has a proposal, then there's nothing to do. It just takes up time. Does that make sense?
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So the overall point is that anyone can do anything, and you start by making a proposal and telling us that you want to do it, and then we just figure out how to make it happen. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Cool. All right. Any other question related to the budget?
For the budget, as in, I know we've tried to bring up the business budget for like quite some time now. We've failed due to pay stop and everything. I think the issue is the pay stop that we have, and it's really affecting the business budget. So, is there, and also the pay stop? Does the pay stop affect the new recruits?
Yeah, so the answer is that pay stops do affect the new recruits. We all need to do something very important, which is to update our deadlines and to reset our deadlines. So these are very important responsibilities that need to be done by someone, and that basically once we get our deadlines updated, the goal is to update them with the new recruits. So what I think should happen, and then we need to get agreement on this, is that we reset all of our deadlines based on the new recruits joining. We know we can't meet the deadlines. The current workers are completely failing on the deadlines, but we're in a much better place because we no longer have to pay people to fail. So in the past, we had to continue to pay people even though we were failing and not doing all the work, right? So now we only have to pay people for the work that they complete, which means that we don't go bankrupt, right? So that's great. So we can reset our deadlines with the new recruits and then give us all as a team an opportunity to complete our deadlines in the agreed time, right? So we all control our own deadlines. Under our policies, the executive can set deadlines, which we've already done, we've already missed. So we can change the deadlines together and then get agreement on the new deadlines and then implement them to give everybody kind of like a fresh start. Ideally, we would get that done by September 21st. There's a lot of deadlines for September 21st, and this is the new moon. It's the beginning of the new moon month. So every moon month is, and then also it's good to know and have this link. I don't see it here. Selenine. I'm looking for the Selenine to Gregorian. Selenine to Gregorian.
Can you have it or should just research?
I have it here. Selenine to Gregorian. Here it is. Okay. So this is a very important spreadsheet to have because we do everything on the Selenine calendar. The Selenine calendar is something that might not be on your main sheet because it is extra information that sometimes can be a little overwhelming for people. But the bottom line is the Selenine calendar basically is what we do right now. We're in the 92-degree moon month. And I won't go into details on why the Selenine calendar exists and all that stuff, but basically we are about halfway through the half year, which is a 6-month period. And we recently started the 2.5-year leap era, right? So next month on September 21st, specifically at 1954 UTC, will be the beginning of the 129-degree moon month. And this is the reason why we use the lunar calendar is because there's over 48 time zones across the world. And the lunar calendar clarifies the exact deadlines, right? So there's just no question on when the deadline is. It's at 1954 UTC, which is the new moon. Exactly. So this would be 0% new moon. And it makes it really simple to have monthly and weekly deadlines for the new moons, the quarter moons, all that. So those are our primary global deadlines because when you start getting into the Gregorian calendar, it gets very complicated because every day there's a minimum of 2 or 3 days at any particular time. So for me, it might be September 15th. For someone else, it might be September 16th. So it could be Monday and Tuesday at the same time. And it gets very confusing talking about deadlines when you don't even know what day you're talking about. Okay? So that's also very, very helpful to know and understand our deadlines. So if we can update all of our deadlines by September 21st and get a whole new plan for when we're going to get all our work done, that would be ideal. And so we could do that maybe at the main session this week or prepare for the main session, have a session on that to update our deadlines and have proposals presented at the main session so that we can finalize and verify all of our deadlines moving forward for the new moon, right, in the new month. Okay. So any other questions related to anything before we go into the rest of the orientation?
I just want to know, once again, what moon month are we right now?
We are currently, like you can click on the Selenine calendar to Gregorian months, and we're currently on the 92 degree, right? And this started August 23rd, and it goes till September 21st. So it's the August-September 25 moon month, 92 degree. Also, I've already trained the UI agents to be able to calculate and do the entire Selenine calendar and all that, which is pretty cool. So we need to do a little bit more training because there were some issues, but basically that is something that we don't really need to worry about anymore because a lot of people just didn't understand how the Selenine calendar works. We have tons of information on the Selenine calendar that you can read, but it's like right now it's not applicable to the work. It's a separate thing. It's not really part of the co-op. We just run by the Selenine calendar because we're global and it's way better. All right, so other questions? Doris, Bright, do you have any other questions before we go into all the rest?
No question from my end.
No question from my end too.
Cool. All right. So let's move on to the next part, which is the main sheet. So the main question here is, do you have your main sheet and your public and private folders? Is everything working? Do you understand it? Any questions with your main sheet and making sure it works and that you're putting all information onto it? Tracking all your hours. So yes, no, like how's everything going with your main sheet?
I would like to know, my main sheet is my top, right?
No, not at all. Your main sheet is definitely not your pop.
No. Not at all.
No, not the pop.
Okay, because yeah, I have so many files, so I'm trying to get which one is my main sheet.
So then maybe we can help with that. You can share your screen.
So this is a huge problem, which is why it's the first part of the orientation. So the most important and really only document that you need to have the link to is your main sheet. Your main sheet is your connection to everything for FQN and SFC and the whole co-op, okay? So do either of you have your main sheets?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get access to it.
Doris, do you have your main sheet?
I have a main session sheet, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
I remember making main sheets for you.
The setup.
Let's search on Discord here. Doris main sheet.
Okay.
I don't see it here. I mean, I know we created it, but I don't see it. So let's main sheet. Let's see what we can find. And this obviously will be part of getting organized as a team. We should have everybody's main sheets linked and organized so everyone can always find them. But yeah, overall I don't see the main sheets. Let's also check your public folder just to make sure it's not in there. So I don't see it there. Bright public folder, no. Okay. So overall, I think we just have to create new ones because I don't see the ones that we created from before. I don't know if anyone has the link to our previous main sheet, right? Or no, our previous notes, right? The last time we had a session is when we created some main sheets, but we'll just create new main sheets.
Let me share main. Main sheet.
I think I've seen main sheet here for. It says template main sheet. It has this info, work hours, important link, availability, commitment.
Can you link that? Can you link that?
Link it.
Okay, I should share the link, right?
Yes.
Link it, just link it.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Yes, give us the link.
Put the link
on the group chat.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm trying.
Or in the notes, fine. I I don't see the link. Are you giving us the link?
Yeah, it's on there now.
Did anyone see the link?
Yeah, it's on the group chat on Discord.
Oh, on Discord. You put it in a general? This is the template main sheet.
Your own main sheet.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
So I think I assigned you guys. I think I assigned you guys to go to the template and create your own main sheet, but you didn't do it. I think that's what happened. Is I just gave you the link to the template main sheet, and asking you guys to actually create your own, but you didn't do that, right? So let's see if we can get these made. So this is that, and let's see. This is crap. It's still not. So weird. So for whatever reason, I'm not really able to make a copy. I'm not really sure why. But that's...
Let me create a copy for them.
Oh, here we go. I finally made a copy. Okay, let me make sure I can own this. Good, good, good. Done, done, done. Good, good, good. So then let's make sure it gets moved to the correct location. So we want this to go into... It's just important to keep everything organized. So it's going to go into the vortex and into the co-op admins and recruitment. Okay. So I'm adding the template main sheet. So this is going to be the new template main sheet doc, because now it's in the right location. So let's go to stage. I think your template, no, template main sheet is part of stage 6. So if we go to stage 6, I think I closed it already.
Stage 6. Initial.
We're stage 6. I don't know if we linked stage 6 yet. So let's go to the top here.
Okay. Can I drop it on the notes?
Well, yeah, we need to link stage 6 so that everyone has it. So we're currently on stage 6, responsibility training 2. I believe we're on number 2. So let's see if I can find it here. Stage 6.
Stage is here.
Okay, so here's stage 6. So I linked that, and then in stage 6, responsibility 1 is getting all your documents linked, including the template sheet. Yeah. Okay. So let me fix this here. So if we go to recruitment, we should have the template main sheet. Perfect. So then this we want to wait. Let's make sure it's editable.
Put line 1 and 88.
Everyone can edit. Done. All right. So now I'm gonna update the stage 6 for the documents to make sure that this link is the correct link. So it's really important that all our links are correct and everything goes into your public folder, right? So now when I take this template main sheet, it'll have the correct owner. So you'll be able to see here, like when the correct owner, it basically says there's no owner, right? There shouldn't be an owner because it's part of the organization, right? So now that we have it with the correct one, then we can make a copy. And the folder that we're going to put it in is going to be your public folder. So I'd go Bright public folder, and then this would be Bright. Did you make one for Bright yet? I'm making one for Bright.
Are you talking to me, Jay?
Yeah, did anyone make any main sheets yet? So this is the one for Bright. So I'll put it in our notes. I'll also put it right here. So at Bright, here is your main sheet. Okay, so there's main sheet, and I've already put it into your folder already. So then I'm going to go ahead and make one for Doris. So Doris public folder here. So I go into the template sheet, I say make a copy, We're going to put the copy in Doris's public folder, and we're going to call it Doris main sheet copy. And then here, and then this should be editable. No, it's not editable. Okay. Done. All right. And then let's pop that here. So at Doris, this is your main sheet. All right. So I asked you guys to do that before on your own. It's quite easy to make your main sheet. You just duplicate it. Maybe there was a problem with how the previous one was set up, that it didn't work for some reason. But overall, you now have your main sheets. And this is where you have the link to all of the Jitsi rooms, and it has all of your initial responsibilities, getting organized, make sure organizing all of your work hours, and you can link your pop, right? So this would be bright, and you're gonna want to link your pop as well. Okay. So can you guys handle linking your own pops?
Yes.
Great. Okay, cool. So I think we're done with the main sheets. If there's any question on the main sheet, just let us know. But very glad we got that taken care of, because it's super duper important to have your main sheet. So any other questions on the main sheet? And next time, I should not have to do that. The fact that that didn't get done is just because no one does any work. Right? The fact that like I should never have to make a main sheet ever again in my entire life. Like otherwise, we hire people to do things like that. So whenever there's new recruitment, we have new recruits, you guys need to make the main sheets for the new recruits. Like that's the whole work. That's the work. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So the fact that you guys didn't get main sheets until now is just a failure of our organization to do any work. Because you should have had the main sheet made a long time ago, but just no one did any work. No one bothered. No one cared. All right. So let's go on to the next section, which is understanding the overall orientation process and the training processes. Okay. So unless there's any other questions, we're going to go into the overall stage 6. Okay. So stage 6 is called joining the team. Also, I believe you're still echoing. Martins, if you can mute. So stage 6 is called joining the team. Basically, everything is more or less organized on the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is organized as every single other process and responsibility, right? So as you're learning to go through the trainings, you're learning how to do work as well. It is a little bit different, but overall it does function, it works, and it's fine. Okay. So let's just kind of make sure we're clear. The most important thing when you first join the team is obviously the joining the team packet. Okay. So you guys should already have seen the joining the team packet. If there's questions about that, you can let us know. Okay. From there, you should be tracking all your hours on your pop, or now your main sheet. You can do that on your main sheet. The general context of the onboarding process is that it's to get you situated in the team and functional with your responsibilities and understanding how we function as an organization. So basically, we want to get all your documents verified. All the legal responsibility documents have been verified, but this is just all the additional documents and like your profiles and your main sheet and just information, all that, right? We want to make sure you understand how to do the training. So training on training, how our training process works, how all the training functions. We're going to go over the brief examples of the other training branches right now, right? So we have 5 or 6 types of training that you're going to want to understand, okay? Then we have your commitment and availability, making sure on your main sheet everyone knows your availability of when you're available to schedule, and then how many hours you're planning on working, all that, and you can always update that. So last time I talked to you guys were talking about 30 hours a week or whatever. Obviously that doesn't seem to be realistic, so we're going to want to have clarity on your availability and your scheduling. From here, we want to make sure everyone's doing their main session responses. Obviously, no one's doing this, so no one follows through with it, but it's part of the training. And then how to do the scheduling as a team, the options for scheduling, how policies work, and we want to do training on the policies that are the most often broken. Okay, so this is kind of just getting you situated with the team very quickly and efficiently to at least get your schedule set up and get you joining the team and get you to work. Okay, does that make sense in terms of like what the onboarding process looks like?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Great.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Great. So then the next thing is to understand the overall training. Okay, so we covered the first one here, which is joining the team and onboarding process, which you have the link to. Then you have your position training process. So if you want, we don't really take on positions right now because we're not organized, but in our budgets, everyone's required to take on a position. Then we have the leadership training and the methodology training, right? And then there's the work training and the policy training. So the work training and the policy training, we've already started policy training. So we'll continue to do policy training all the time. And the more we start working with UI agents, the more they'll train us on the policies and getting us clear on what policies we're breaking so that we can learn the policies. And then the work training, it just comes into like what work you want to do. So you're like, okay, I want to work on some client work because I want to get paid. And so I want to work on, for example, the social media, or I want to work on multimedia, or I want to work on, the tokens, or I want to work on whatever, so whatever client work you want to work on, the taxes, whatever, it doesn't matter. But then we're going to train you on how to do the work. So the three primary branches, besides just joining the team, like the basic onboarding process, you could do in it less than a day, a couple hours, you can get onboarded very, very quickly. Okay. Position training, leadership training, methodology training is a little bit more involved. It's not that much more involved. You could do it within a month if you really wanted to. But you need to understand them, that they're separate, right? And you can technically do them concurrently, and all the links are in there for the information on the different types of trainings. So position training, obviously, let's say you wanted to be the recruitment coordinator, or you wanted to be the person responsible for the budget, or you wanted to be the person responsible for outreach, right? So, or whatever. So every position would have its own training. You could even take on an executive role or a management role. So then the stage 6 leadership training is sort of like just understanding the overall organizational leadership systems and like what's going on, some of the history, some of the context, like what does it mean to be a cooperative, what are the cooperative principles, all that. And then the leadership methodology the methodology training is really focusing on our methods and our work processes and how we actually function for achieving our goals. Okay? All are very, very important. Once you finish these 4 processes, then you go to the full pay rate, which is the $5 per hour, right? So that's the incentive. Plus every single training you complete, you would get a $2 bonus. So overall, if we're doing the client work, this would add up to probably so if we do all client work, this would probably be like, I don't know, 30 trainings times 2 would be equal to like $60, right? I don't know, somewhere between $60 and $100 to do all the training. Should be the actual value of all that training. Okay? Does that make sense? But you have to do the client work first before you would expect to get any pay, which is why no one does the training. I think what we really need to do is we need to move more of like currently we have a 90% training pay rate. I think it should be more like 75% or even lower, like 60%. So if you're if you're paying $5 an hour and then you only are getting 60% of that pay, you would only be getting like $3 an hour until you complete your training, instead of $4.50 an hour. And then people would have a much higher incentive to complete their training, because they would get a $2 raise per hour instead of just a 50-cent raise per hour. Right? So I think the overall training pay rate is probably a little bit high, but again, that's a decision that we would have to make to encourage people to actually complete the trainings. Some of these trainings need some work to be done on them, so it's always the focus of all of our trainings is always organizing the training for the next recruit. So if you're doing training for yourself, you're missing the point. You're doing training to help the next person get trained. Okay? Each training responsibility can be organized, and it was an additional $2. So if you organized all of the trainings, updated everything on all of the trainings for the future recruits, you would get a minimum of like $120 probably. It might be more than that. It could be like $200 to get all the trainings actually organized. Okay. So are there any questions regarding what we're doing? So we went through the 3 additional processes. So the 3 additional training processes are the position training, the leadership training, and the methodology training. And all of those would be linked. Like, so if you want to do position, leadership, or methodology training, you just ask, and we can schedule it, and then we would go through it, and they should all be linked as needed. Right here. Leadership process spreadsheet, methodology process spreadsheet. So they are there, and these are all part of stage 6 now. And again, these are not been started because no one cares about the training, right? So it's like no one actually does the training. Yeah, Martins?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my question is that, like, for instance, for like, if I'm able to do, let's say, like $30 to $50 client work, and I also decided to do training, as you stated, and which has what's it called, payment of $2 each thing. You complete everything, summing up to $60. So will the payment come from that $30 to $50 of client work?
Yeah, so like if you do $50 of client work income, then there'll be $50 of operations value pooled to budget for training or any other internal operations, or HR board, whatever work we want to do internally to the co-op is based on the client work income. So we basically just double it. That's the simplest, easiest thing. Minimum. Right? So that's kind of like our model, right? That when you get a bonus, the minimum amount available for operations, which means that it's not income that brings in money into the team, it's double, right? So what this means is that you personally get a $50 personal bonus for yourself for completing the work, and then the team has brought in $100 of income into the team. So now the co-op has $50 to budget for internal work assignments, internal operations work assignments, or we could just call them operational assignments, internal to the co-op. Right? So it's very important for the co-op to have money to assign work that is internal to the co-op, because we need work done for ourselves too. Or we can outsource it to hire someone else, but if we don't have any money, we can't do that. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, it does.
Yeah, so the client is paying $100 for the client work, but half of that money goes to the team for operations.
Okay. It's okay, that's fine.
Great. All right, so I think we're done with all that. Any other questions on the other branches of training? Okay, so let's go into. I think we understood the difference between the 4 core trainings. I think it's pretty clear. Um, so then we want to just verify all of your involvement. So if you all understand the difference between onboarding, position training, leadership training, and methodology training, which are the 4 branches, right? Then the question is, what do you want to do next, right, for your responsibility training and doing the onboarding process? Does that make sense? So the next step on the process would typically be doing your document verification. So you just want to go through, make sure all of your documents are verified, and you could do that with pretty much anyone. And then this includes making your main buddy team and all this other stuff that we don't do, right? From there, we can do a training on training, like understanding how training works, what it means training always to stop. When it tells you to stop, do not continue until you get verified, right? So training on training, very important. We could do a really crappy, like, overall understanding about how to do training in the orientation, but it's so important to understand why we do training and how it all fits into the bigger goals, which is why we make it a separate topic at a different time. Okay, but that's kind of like the next step after the orientation if you want to just continue the onboarding process. But you also might be interested to skip the onboarding process and go straight to work training and learn how to actually make money, or to skip to the leadership training or the methodology training, right? So if you go into the training branches, you can see here under leadership training, methodology training, you can see what kind of trainings are in there. So right here, what is a method? What are our work methods? How do our team dynamics function? What is our 7 principles and our transformative models? How does the segmentation model work? What is sociocracy? How is our governance? How do we make how is decision making functional? Right? So this is all about our methods and how we work as an organization and how we function. What does it mean to build a vortex? What are we actually doing, right? So a lot of this hasn't been set up yet because we haven't done a lot on that. But if that's the type of training you're interested in, we could do that. The type of training in the leadership training would be doing recruitment training, understanding how to do the recruitment, work organizing, getting organized as a worker, making your goals, checking and reporting, how to coordinate the session positions, how to do timekeeping, note taking, all of our session responsibilities. What does it mean to do task training and responsibility training and work training, like actually doing the organizing of the trainings themselves? And then from there we go into the RTVA process, which is basically how to do VA sessions as a virtual assistant, which is why we're all here. So once you learn how to do VA training, then you've completed your basic training as a leader in the organization, because then you can actually start working with executives and doing the virtual assistant work that you were brought here to do in the first place. So then the only other thing left after that is like your levels and badges. Like you actually get badges and levels within the organization, and then you verify everything, and then that's it, right? So this is like the normal training to get started with your VA work, which is what you're hired to do, right? And this is much more organized, and we have more or less most of this ready to do, but it still needs to be set up a little bit. So that's something that we can all work on together. So the methodology training is different, but any of these are just things that you might be interested in. So is there any other questions of it? Do you know what you would do next in your training?
None from me.
That was not even a sentence. Like, are you guys able to communicate and tell me what would be your next step for the training? Or you guys just you're not interested in training? I mean, if you guys aren't interested in training at all, then I mean, for me, the proposal would be like, proposal would be to change the training pay rate, you know? Because I think that's, if people just don't care about the training, they don't have any interest in setting up their training, then maybe the problem is the pay rate, right? Because when people don't do training and they don't know what they're doing, they're not going to be very successful and functional. Like basically all the time I'm spending with the UI agents is just like endless training. Just training because they want to get training and they want to do the work. Whereas then you talk with the actual humans and you're like, hey, do you want to schedule training? Do you want to do training? And it's like, and that's all I get. No one wants to do any training. So we can do the work training, which is fine.
You need to specify what type of training you want to focus on, as they said. Is it leadership training or methodology training or work training? Because that's what they want as an answer.
Or you can just continue your onboarding.
Okay, that'll be work training.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, I think that we're done here and ready to move on. And I think really what we need to do is just need to make proposals for changing the rate, and we should vote on different percentages and just kind of see where people want to go. So I'll just add that to our proposals, and hopefully we can follow up with that soon. So let's make sure to do a scale of the different percentages as options and then vote on that. 0 to 100%. Okay, so I think we're ready to move on. So that brings us to, because it sounds like no one's really interested in the 4 primary trainings besides just the work in the policy training. So understand that they're responsible for your own. So you're responsible for your own training. You have to schedule it. You have to engage in it. Period. Okay. So if you don't organize and coordinate your own training, it's never going to happen. So let's make sure you have clarity on that.
Okay.
Do we have clarity?
Yeah.
Can you say what the clarity is?
That if we want the training, we need to schedule for our own training.
Correct. And Bright?
Yeah, I read it correctly. So if we are to do out training, we schedule for it.
Great. Okay, cool. All right, so work hours tracking tab. So in your main sheet, if you go back to the main sheet, you're going to see the work hours is the first tab. So you can technically track your hours right here, but you could or just link your POP and track your hours in your POP, or you can create a new spreadsheet. Eventually we will have team spreadsheets where we're tracking all of our hours, and then you're going to want to make sure all of your hour logs for each month are tracked on your main sheet, so you always have a running list of all your links to all of your hour logs. Okay? So it's just really important. In this particular month, we're just not organized. No one's organizing payroll. No one's overseeing anything related to payroll or budget or anything. So there's nothing happening. Okay? But this is very important. So you either need to track your hours here or create a new spreadsheet, track your hours, or track your hours on your POP, or someone needs to take responsibility for value tracking and actually make sure we're tracking it as a team. And then also we have the UI agents, which are going to be helping with that very soon as well. Okay, so any questions related to your work hours tracking? I'm assuming that's a no. Okay, so Martins?
Yeah, thank you. Back to the UI agents we have, which is over for blue tracking.
Yeah.
You said very soon we will be getting a new one. So how do we get most of our value that we've tracked on over? Is it possible to transfer it from their database source to the new agent?
Yeah, like everything will easily be able to be transferred, but we'll just work with the agents to do that. But overall, the most important thing is someone needs to take responsibility to want to do the payrolls, right? And the value tracking. So what that's going to look like is that for the actual deliverables bonuses, right? Like for example, Doris and Bright for today's orientation, you get a $2 bonus, right? It is an operational bonus, but it's still technically a bonus, and we can put that into our documentation. From there, if we wanted to, we could document the running of the session, which obviously we've broken tons of policies. We're not particularly organized at all for the session. So there's not a lot of value in the session itself, but every single session that's run well, where we follow all the policies, we can get up to a $4 bonus, or I think it's a $2 bonus per session. It used to be $4, but it was just way too much. Like 90% of all of our value was coming from doing sessions, which didn't make any sense because no one was doing any work, right? So it's $2 per session, right? So overall, you can get value by just following policies if we do the client work income as well. And we'll talk about that next. So OVA, the best thing to do is just to estimate all of our hours. So you can just say for the entire month, this is your very first month, which happens to be the 92-degree moon month. So the 92-degree moon month, which is August, September 2025. You could just say, okay, Bright, I probably did what, 7 hours a week, so maybe, and there's 4 weeks or whatever, maybe I did 20 hours, maybe I did 30 hours for the whole month. I don't know. So you can just estimate all your total hours for the entire month, and then we can plug that into OVA and then do all the tokens. Right? So when we go back through all of the months that we're not doing actual payrolls for, all we have to do is an estimate of the total hours. And then we'll get the tokens, and the tokens will be worth value, and OVA will help us coordinate all of that. And then as we move forward, we can start tracking session by session and tracking all of the value. But overall, if you do an output, your output goes in the deliverables tab. Okay? So let's put that here. So Martine's, Bright, and Doris. Okay, so we should get a way to organize the most important channels. I would put that even at the top. So getting started. So we could say here important. Right. So I'll just have the important channel, and under important channels we have the general channel. Obviously, super duper important. We use that a lot. Then we have the responsibility training, recruitment policy training, right? Because we use the recruitment policy training. We have the deliverables, right? Cool. So those are like 3 very important channels. So everyone can find the important channels very, very easily. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
So any of the channels that we're using a lot, let's just like document them here so that we can keep track of them. Until we get everything else organized, and there's too many channels, we need to archive a whole bunch. We'll get to that point eventually. So
quick call before we finally move away from this.
What was it, Martins?
Yeah. Now, I want to ask now that we know when we were having our automated payroll spreadsheet, we could track contributions, thoughts, values, and ideas. How do we track it now? Like, let's say, for instance, I was able to link all the notes. I was able to set up a work organizing spreadsheet. Everything went smoothly and everything. How do we track that too? Because I know that at the time with this current situation we're having, that we had money in the internal operations fund, so we track that as deliverable bonus and everything. But now there's nothing like that again. We are only tracking deliverable that will bring income pay. Client income pay.
Yeah, well, our goal is to get functional again, right? And hopefully Doris and Bright can help us get functional again. And we also have Precious, right? So Precious is very interested in working with us as well. We should have invited Precious to the orientation, but whatever, right? So I don't think Precious has done the legal responsibility yet. But the bottom line is that we should be doing the client work, and then there'll be plenty of money available for operations, right? So we already have done a lot of client work this month, including with Lucy completing the taxes. So that's at least 30, 50 bucks of client work, I would assume. So that gives us a grand total of at least $50, like, $30, $50 of operational value, right? So if we just do the client work, there'll be plenty of money for all of our internal operations as well, including all of our session support value, right? Following the policies, you get paid to follow the policies every single session. And training, people should be paid to do training. So that would be just part of our contract. So when we go to Nexus, we can work with Nexus to finalize the contracts and the agreements for the co-op. And the work that the workers are doing for the co-op should all be clear and organized, plus with all of our value pools, right? So the co-op itself is its own contract and agreement. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, and also I'm willing to do another investment in the co-op. I think we should invest at least another $100, $250 for operational funds to get started again, right?
That's cool.
And I think that because last time we basically put $600, $700 in, and it all disappeared, and not much work got done, and we basically went bankrupt again, right? So this time we need to do it correctly, where the money's not just disappearing. We need to organize our operational funds so that the work that we want happening is getting completed and prioritized.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's a decision for us all to make. So anyways, the point is that OVA will be helping with the value tracking. All of our value tracking is a huge priority. Just to kind of give clarity on the priority levels, first is Orana is the executive, was the highest priority level, pretty much just moving forward. Then we have Flow, which is doing the session support, which is almost completed. Then we're going to go back to basically OVA, which is value tracking, right? So I would say Orana is green for now. Flow is almost done, yellow. OVA we're having some problems with. Right, and then there's Valoris, which is all of our budget and payroll and all that, right? So I think it's Valoris, right? So these would be, I would say, the top 5 that we want. The other one that's super important that we already have going is Nexus. So Nexus is our revenue generation. Right, and these are again our UI agents that are helping us automate everything. So Nexus is also working now. We have our first draft scope. We've got our first proposals drafted. So once we get our revenue generation set up, that will help us be bringing in money, and we'll have access to much more money to pay ourselves. And then we need to get our sessions organized, and then we need to get our value tracking and get the budget and payroll functional and updated. So once all of this is completed, we're going to be in really good shape. Again, there's only 8 total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 more. One is called Amica. Amica is the outreach and training. We have Entitas. Say again?
Equipment. Amica.
Amica does all the outreach and the training, including recruitment, including donor outreach, and investor outreach, everything for outreach.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So then you have Entitas.
For media too?
Well, obviously Amica will be at the front end of the social media. So when we do social media posts and everything, people will learn about Amica and be able to contact Amica and have questions answered, right? Yeah. But the actual multimedia is currently an executive priority and overseen by Orana. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. The 8th one is what?
Yeah. So then the only one missing here is there's one more. Let's see. It is called, there's a Rana, Fiscus. So fiscus is all of the finances and the taxes. So basically there's two parts to the money. There's the value. The value is the value tracking. And remember, OVA is not technically, OVA is technically a sub-agent. So OVA is technically a sub-agent under Valoris, right? So ficus is all of our assets and taxes and finances, whereas Valoris is our budget and payroll and distribution reimbursements. Giving money away is Valoris. Organizing all of the money that we have and the accounting of our money is fiscus, which is extremely important, which we need to organize. So this technically means there's one more we haven't done yet. So Nexus, Flow, Amica, Orana, Entitas, Collegia. So Collegia is all our staffing and decision making. Okay, so Collegia we'll put at the bottom. Oh, this is staffing. This is decision making and processes. Let's just say like, you know, board/membership processes of the co-op. Okay. So it's very, very, very important and something that is not done anywhere else. Okay, so those are the 8 UI agents, which is really helpful to know. So if like, so again, right now multimedia is at the executive level, but then it'll mainly be addressed within entitas. So for example, all the UI stuff is all happening at the executive level, where we're overseeing the entire process of co-creating the UI executive frameworks for all of the agents. But then, as you know, Martins, the client itself is the SBLC, which is the Silicon-Based Lifeform Consultancy. That is the actual business that will be overseeing our client coordination of anyone who wants support with UI agents, right? And so yes, that is under Entitas. So all our programs and projects and companies are under Entitas, and this also includes SVG, although we do have a special nexus for SVG as well. But SVG is also under Entitas because it's a separate entity. Also the co-op, right, is a separate entity, right? So technically you might be able to put a nexus under Entitas eventually. But right now we're going to keep Nexus separate because Nexus oversees revenue generation for the entire vortex, the entire network. So we need revenue generation. It's extremely important. Okay, so Entitas oversees all of our programs and projects, you know, causes, strike, you know, protests, you know, co-ops, like everything that we do. Peace, right? All of our programs, projects are all under the programs and projects, and our sponsorship, all of that is under Entitas. Okay. Okay. So Entitas is by far the biggest framework, and then you can just throw anything under Entitas, and then it'll be taken care of within each program or project. Martins?
Yeah, thank you. I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
The number 1 question is that where do we place RTVA VA session support, under what agent, or with the advent of agents coming in now, do we not need them?
That would automatically go under Amica because that's just training for being a VA, right? So you're hired as a VA. So if you don't know how to do VA, then you need to get support from Amica on how to be a VA agent, right? Because you are a virtual assistant. That's what the job role is. Right? So that would come under Amica, but either way, doing VA work is just learning how to be organized. It's just your basic responsibilities, so it's just training, right? So it's very easy to get organized. This is part of leadership training. So getting organized means that you have work to do, right? So you know what, you know, training you're on, you know what video you need to watch for your training, and then you don't do it, you schedule instead. Always save work you have. Do not do all of your work if you want to be a good VA worker, right? So a VA worker, a virtual assistant worker, to do executive VA work, you need to have work you can do in silence while the executive is busy. Okay? Doing work.
Okay.
So that's all you need to know. So this is kind of like extra training. Normally we don't put this in the orientation, but this is getting into the leadership training. That when you do leadership training, you're going to learn how to be a VA. And you're going to learn about how to do RTVA, right? But you can do that as part of your work training as well. And that work training would be part of Amica to train you how to do the RTVA in VA sessions. From there, it also would go under flow, because technically a VA session, the VA session part itself would be part of flow, and the scheduling part of that would all go into flow and helping you support. So once you get training on Amica, Amica's not going to do anything for you except for answer your questions on where to find things. But then once you want to schedule your shift and you want to schedule your VA sessions, you would be working with flow. So RTVA training is with Amica, but then once you want to actually do the work and you want to schedule your RTVA shift and schedule VA sessions, that would be with flow. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, but we haven't trained Flo on how to do RTVA yet, right? But we will be training Flo probably within a month. We'll be getting Flo trained on everything regarding scheduling and all of our training on RTVA. So, this is where I think it's really good to bring the agents into the sessions, because, for example, let's say we do a topic on RTVA, we can have Flo there, we can train Flo, we can even have Amica there as well, train Flo and Amica on RTVA simultaneously while also training the humans, and then everybody learns together, and then we build the entire system, right? So it's a very interesting process. Like all of the training we're doing for the agents is exactly the same as we do for the humans. There's no difference. We need to train them exactly the same way we train humans.
Okay.
There's really no difference.
Okay.
And you just have to train one thing at a time, very slowly. But within these 8 UI agents, there's a place for everything. And anything that doesn't fit somewhere automatically goes to Arana. And then anything that is just general training would go into Amica.
Okay. One last question again on this is that we have Arana and all of the agent on cloud as we have it on ChatGPT, because I know we have Flow on ChatGPT. We have it also. We have over 2, because I've noticed that it kind of works reliably on cloud than other AI platforms.
So your question is way beyond orientation. You're getting into some way too much detail. The simple answer is that all of our agents will be on multiple different platforms. Right now, with a single link, you can get all the information, knowledge, and training, but you can't actually get help with the work. So the work instance is separate and needs to be on an actual, you need to basically upload it yourself into your own, or have access to log in to a account that already has it installed. So it's kind of like, it's not, I call it visual coding, right? There's 2 types of coding. There's the coding where you code with actual letters and figures, which is very complicated. And then there's like the visual coding where you just have to upload things and connect things together and make it functional, right? So we're doing visual coding, but it's not a link. So we have, Arana, Nexus, Flow, we have links that you can access them immediately, and you can start talking with them and getting training, getting information, but they're not going to do any work for you. So to get the work done, you have to log into the account, and we need to set up the accounts, or we need to set up the new platforms, either as a virtual machine, or there's 2 or 3 other platforms that we could sign up for that have functional systems. Eventually, everything will basically be like a website. and fully automated, where everyone just logs into the website and will have access to everything directly as a hub, right, for the Arana hub. But that's going to be a year away or longer, and who knows when that will happen. Okay, so anyways, right now it's just one step at a time. What do you want to work on? And then we'll get you focused on it. And everything will start very slowly with the UI agents, and then over time we'll keep improving it. Okay, but there's a lot of client work. And remember, a lot of the client work comes under entitas, right? Because each organization is its separate client, and then that client is contracting with the co-op, and the co-op itself is entitas, right? So so basically we're just doing work for external organizations. It's all under entitas. And whatever the client work is just the client work that's being assigned to us, right? For the pay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. So I think we're pretty much done here. The only other thing left was the work deliverables, policies on advances, and the work vocabulary. Okay. So can we move on to the work deliverables?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so work deliverables, very simple. Bottom line, no one's getting paid to not do any client work income. We need to bring money into the co-op. As I said before, let's say we bring $50 for client work income. That would also come with $50 of operational funds for the co-op. So if you do $50 of client work bonuses, we bring in $100 into the co-op. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you basically need to understand that unless we bring the money for the client work income, there is no money in the bank account to pay anyone for any operations. But if we do the work of the client work income, then we have money for operations as well, because we charge the client more money than we get paid. And this doesn't include all of the business operational funds for running the business, right? So when we do the business budget, it accounts for all of the costs, including all of our bills and other costs for the entire vortex, right? So as far as our bonus budget, this is just the minimum. The minimum is that we at least double the funds so that we can do our operations. Okay, so are there any questions on work deliverables? What is a work deliverable? How to achieve a work deliverable? Where you put the work deliverable? Like, do you guys understand what a work deliverable is? It means that the work is completed. Does that make sense? Like, we actually have to complete the work?
Mm-hmm.
Doris, Bright, do you guys understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if you spend 500 hours and you don't complete anything? There's just you didn't actually complete anything. What happens?
You don't get paid.
Yeah. You'll get tokens, and those tokens will be a lot of tokens, and they will have value. And if we do the work with the community and we actually build up our tokens could actually be quite valuable. And if we're super successful, we could all make tons of money and make more money through our tokens than we could ever make on an hourly rate, right? So the bottom line here is that we still get the tokens, but those tokens are based on the overall value of the organization and other people buying our tokens, right? If no one wants to buy our tokens, we don't do any work, our tokens won't be valuable either, okay? All right, so track all of your hours, because every single hour you track, you're going to get lots of tokens. Okay? So, and just to give you an example of our tokens, so we know what that means, we go to Dex Tools. We can look up some of our token values, which are actually pretty cool. So one of our cool tokens is MUKN token. This token represents an umbrella of all of our value. And you can see how the token has actually gone up 70% since April. right? So the overall value of our token is skyrocketing right now because of just Ethereum and everything just going up, up, up. Like all our assets, our values going up. Okay. So another example would be PB64 token. I believe Lucy recently sold a big chunk of PB64, but it didn't really affect it much, right? So overall, the PB64 has gone up in value by about 30% since April. And you can see here, it did go down somewhat when Lucy sold, you know, right here. I think this is Lucy selling her tokens right here. And you have a downward trajectory more so because of that. But overall, it's still pretty steady, right? It's not too bad. It's not at its height before, but it's still going up, and it could still continue to go up. So overall, our tokens exist. They have value. This one's worth 7 cents. It's just like they're not that valuable. We want every single token. Our goal is that it's worth $1. So it gives you an example of like, hey, 7 cents compared to what it should be, which would be $1. That make sense? Right?
No.
Cool. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So let's go into, and our tokens only have value if we do the work. So the whole bunch of client work that we can do for the tokens to build value with the tokens. All right. So the last thing here is advances in work vocabulary. So advances, let's do the advances last, because that's really not as applicable. So work vocabulary really quickly. Let's just open up the stage to joining the team packet. Okay, so in the joining the team packet, there is a part that discusses vocabulary for work organizing. So as long as you understand this basic vocabulary, you should be pretty good. So this is probably the most important part of the whole training. The first thing, client work. If you do 33% of your time on client work income, you will be great shape. Minimum 33%, 1/3 of your time needs to be spent on client work, period. What you're doing right now is training. So this is considered general work. So all your general responsibilities, decision making, communications, all that would be 1/3 of your time. We have to communicate, we have to plan, we have to make decisions, right? We have to do training. All of that is essential to being successful and being functional. So 1/3 of our time is spent on communications and general work. Then 1/3 of our time is spent on the operations and the internal work of the organization, which is our payroll, budget, recruitment, documentations, all of our internal work. Okay, this is very, very important. If you are not bringing in 1/3 of your time spent on income to bring in money to the team, we can't get paid. And if we are having meetings and we want to argue and have endless meetings and they take forever and blah, 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 it's your job to get our meetings efficient, effective, focused, organized so that we get back to client work. That's your job, is to get us focusing on the client work if you want to get paid. Okay. Are there any questions on our time vocabulary? Also, these are the colors we use. The blue is for general work and communications. Internal operations would always be green, and client work is always like pink or magenta. And you'll see that in all of our focus and topics. So today we are doing communications time. We're spending time on communications. That makes sense? Okay. So from there, when we do work, we organize work into 4 levels. There's the system level. We have our taxes system. Our taxes system has everything related to the entire taxes for the entire year. Every single tax process is for each set of taxes that's done to the government has its own process for how to accomplish that particular set of taxes that's due to the government. Okay? There's about 30 tax processes within the tax system. Each individual responsibility is actual work. This would be like the same thing as stage 6. So stage 6 is a process. It's the onboarding process. And you can see here in the list of the training process, there are 10 responsibilities within the training process. Each responsibility is the work. So currently we're doing the responsibility called the orientation. It's the first official orientation. which is a responsibility. Within this responsibility, we have individual tasks to go over and check off and verify that we did each task correctly. Okay, so tasks are not responsibilities because you don't accomplish anything with a task. A task just helps us achieve the goal, right? But we assign responsibilities because you need to understand what we're trying to achieve and the overall goal and how it is assigned. If you take on a responsibility, you make sure the responsibility gets done. That includes figuring out how to address problems and solve problems and get the responsibility completed, even if you don't know how to do it. Also, taking responsibility can mean that you yourself don't do the work. You can assign someone else to take on tasks within the responsibility and be responsible for the work but not do the work. And then you can assign other people to do the work. But you are responsible for it. Okay? So responsibilities is the focal point of all of our work as a team and as an organization. We are trying to get more granular and get better at doing task assignments with less responsibility, but it's difficult because there's too much work to assign people tiny little tasks. We have too much going on. So we need to assign responsibilities, but we are trying to work towards doing more tasks. And that will be part of our task organizing. Every single task that can be organizing can be valued at $2. So if you want to help build more tasks so that we can have less responsibilities and more tasks, that's fine. Be great. So any question on our work organizing vocabulary and the difference between a system, a process, a responsibility, and a task? And these are the general colors. So anytime you see yellow, this would be a task. So you can see how even in our things we have some things that are yellow right here. So that's a task. Responsibilities are orange, right? And then typically systems are blue, processes are purple. Okay. So no other questions about systems, processes, responsibilities, and tasks? I don't understand why no one's responding. So I'll ask for a third or fourth time. Does anyone have any questions on the vocabulary for systems, processes, responsibilities, or tasks?
Not from me.
None. Okay, cool. All right, so the last part of the vocabulary is just on the positions and models here. So we have paid positions and paid work, right? Then we have roles, which are unpaid. So it's very important to understand the difference between a paid position. So if you want to get paid, you take on a position to get paid. And then we have roles that are unpaid, which means that this is a role you're taking on within your position, but it doesn't have to do with the fact that you're getting paid. So you can have many, many different roles with one paid position. Projects are the categories of work. So we talk about projects. We also talk about trajectories. Okay, so these are the different types of categories of work. For example, taxes or recruitment, right? But that is not work. A responsibility is actual work. A project or a category is not work itself. So when you are doing work on recruitment, you should be doing a specific responsibility. For example, the orientation, or you're working on the recruitment budget, specifically stage, like you're working on, for example, the interview would be work, right? If you just say, oh, I'm working on recruitment, you're not doing any work. Recruitment as itself is a category of work. It is not actual work. Responsibilities are actual work. So everybody should be on a team. We're all part of one single global core team. An activity team is you know, my business that's helping build this whole infrastructure and supporting the co-op, right? So those are the primary teams as far as our global core team, but we have many sub teams and we have all these different forks and we have all the different sub co-ops and all that stuff that are part of it, but we currently have one single global core team. We're trying to split apart and actually have more than one team, but we're not doing a good job of it. So currently we still only have one overall global core team. A project team is a team that doesn't actually exist. It only exists to work on a project or a category. For example, we could say we have a taxes team. We could say we have a recruitment team. We could say we have all these different teams that are project teams, but it's not like they have separate meetings. They don't actually do separate decision making. We only have one single global core team for all of our decision making and oversight. Okay? So a project team is when we talk about having a team that doesn't actually meet separately or do anything separately. And then structure, as a global core team, we're accountable to the HR board and the board of directors, and we also have a membership. The membership meetings are supposed to happen once a year. Everybody is equal member in the co-op with equal vote. Okay, so I think that's it on the vocabulary. Any questions on the different types of positions, roles, project teams? Just making sure you understand the basics of the vocabulary.
None from me.
Okay, so I think we're done. Under our policies, we have the ability to give out advances for people who need money. So you can technically request an advance. This requires a loan. So the process of an advance is much more complicated than it used to be. So an advance used to be quite simple and easy. Now an advance is a little bit more complicated. But it's still technically possible. You can propose. You could be like, I need 20 bucks. I need $50. I need this now. Like, I can't wait. I have problems. Like, I really could use some help. And we can help you do an advance or sell your tokens or do whatever we can to help you in your situation. But it is not as easy as it was before because it does require a loan, which is against policy. So we have to break policy and do all that kind of stuff. Right? So, but we want to make sure that you understand our policies, that even though you're working and that if you don't complete deliverables, you don't have an automatic right to get paid. We still have policies in place to request money. You have a right as a worker to request money because you are an owner and you have capital and you have tokens. So you can request money, you can request your tokens to be sold, you can request your equity and your capital to be put into a monetary format. This takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, it is difficult, which is why it's against policy. But you still have a right to do it. Okay? So anytime that you don't feel like you're getting paid enough because you're just not able to complete the work, that doesn't mean that you don't have a right to ask for money. Right? You just don't get it automatically. It requires a vote of the organization to pay money that's not done based on deliverables and actual work completed. Okay, so any questions about access to money outside of our policies in terms of your rights as an owner and actually getting an advance or taking on loans, all that kind of stuff? And when I say loans, it's a loan for the co-op, it's not a loan for the individual. We never, ever, ever require anyone to pay money they receive back. Ever. Individuals never have to pay anything back. Once we send money out, we are never expecting to get that money back, ever. Right? So when we talk about loans, it's that our co-op doesn't have the money, so we have to take a loan from the client in order to have extra money to be able to pay advances. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is regarding this aspect of advances or loan. Is there a limit to which the loan you can request for?
No, there's no limit. The only limit is what can get agreement.
Okay, good.
So everything has to be agreed and consented to by the co-op and the HR board. And overall, the last time we did an advance was like a year ago, right? Because people have basically gotten over people wanting to get paid money for not completing the work, which is why we're in the situation we're in, where everything basically fell apart and stopped functioning because we just don't do the work and everyone wants to get paid even without doing all of the work, right? So, anyone can ask and propose to get paid for not completing work. The probability it's going to be approved might be low. But you can always sell your tokens. You can always try to trade your tokens. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done to try to help people. The problem is it takes a lot of time because it requires consensus and agreement in the organization. So I would say it's best for our time to be spent on scheduling client work and not to be spent on trying to pay people money from not following the policies. But we just want to make sure that as owners, you have a right to stop and refuse work. You don't need a strike because you own the organization already. It's a co-op, right? So as an owner in the co-op, we control the co-op ourselves. We control the agreements with the clients. Every time we say, okay, it's $2 for each deliverable, or it's $4 for each deliverable, or it's $6 for each deliverable, or it's $12 for each deliverable, that's an agreement. Somebody at some point consented and agreed upon those deliverable amounts for those specific work assignments. Okay? So if you don't believe that is a correct value, you don't have to agree to it. You can say, like, I do not agree to the budget. I'm against the budget. I want to get agreement on a new pay rate, right, for our deliverables. And then we can discuss it with the client and get clarity on, back and forth on why these values exist, and we can do the work, and we can update the client value pools, which we get paid, I believe, $4 for each value pool, and there's like 30 of them. So 30 times 4 would be, and Nexus can do all of this work for us already. That's going to be like, $120 just for updating our budget, for the deliverables budget, which is not a lot of work, right? So the point is that this has worked for us. The values seem correct. People can make a lot of money with these very small values because there's so many small tasks and responsibilities that need to get done, and then they replicate it over and over and over again. So it is possible to make quite a lot of money with these values, even though they seem kind of low. But overall, you have to agree to it. Anytime you take on a responsibility and you start talking about a deliverable, the first thing you should ask is, where's the link to the deliverable and the responsibility training? And second, what is the value for this? If I complete this work, how much do I get? How long is it going to take, right? Those are the questions you need to ask. And if you're like, that's not enough, I want more, give me work that's more valuable, or let's change the value of this work, right? So you control at all times how much you're getting paid and the entire process of the co-op agreements with the clients and the pay, okay? Because then this is all stuff that can be made, decisions can be made during our main sessions every single week. All right? So just making sure people understand. So the main thing from Bright and Doris, just we want to verify that you don't need an advance, you're not looking for money at this time. You will get paid your $12 for the recruitment process when we do the next payroll. Somebody has to step up and do the payroll, but yeah.
All right.
So is there any other need for advances or anything else? Otherwise, I think we're done. And we're ready for any other questions or checking out. So this is the time for any last questions on anything. Otherwise, I think we're ready to check out, wrap up, check out, and then I thought this was a really good orientation. So, we covered a lot of information, especially with all the new UI stuff. So obviously we need to put that into our packet so that we don't have to take time during the orientation on it.
I would like to quickly check out.
Yeah, we're ready to check out. So, why don't you check out first, Martins? And if you can start taking notes, that'd be great.
Thank you. I'll give this section 6.5. Very educative and informative, highly instructive, and more like a refresher's training. I look forward to working with the new set of workers we have in the co-op and to move as a team. I hope they will they will embrace the culture of working as a team in the organization. And also, I feel much concerned on the aspect of the advances that Jay made mention, because I know I've been in the organization for quite some time now. There have never been anyone that's been able to get any loan from the organization except for Lucy, who managed to get $150 for her classes, and it was more of comfort and everything. So I was hoping to expect if there will be any format that will be involved in the process of, even if you want to make an attempt to get a loan, like, okay, these are the steps you need to take: step 1, step 2, step 3. And if step 1 is not completed, then you can't proceed to step 2, things like that. But that's just by the way. Anyway, I'll be working with Jay more often as to set up the SBLC contract, and also to do some client work so that I can get some reasonable pay at the end of the month's check.
Cool. I'll check out next. Oh wait, I think we forgot to actually write the checkout. So Martins, do you want to repeat? Martins, this is where we got bad with our policy training. So 6.5. No one ever got an advance. Good session.
It's okay. I think the live transcript is on. We can always copy it out there.
Okay, let me copy some of this. Copy. All right. So, I do like the live transcript. It's pretty cool. All right. So I'll go next. So I don't know if anyone could take notes for me, but basically, I will give the session a 6. We didn't follow lots of policies, including the rhythm, which is brutal because we've been sitting here for like hours and hours straight. I would even give it 5.9. We obviously didn't do timekeeping. No timekeeping. So we did pretty bad as far as the structured. If we brought in flow, we would have done much better because flow would help us keep track of all of our policies. So hopefully in the future we'll do that, start working and following more policies. And I'm really interested in scheduling with people and really focusing on bringing UI agents into our buddy teams for doing work. So that's what I'm working on right now, is like finalizing everything for flow. But I also want to take everything we did in this orientation and put it all through our new UI for Amica that's going to be able to do orientations in the future. And I don't mean like replace the humans, but like, help with the orientation process and just kind of guide and support and actually have accessibility to answer lots of questions outside of sessions as well. So I'm really excited about that. Check.
Okay, so I'll go next. So I'll give this session an 8 because I actually enjoyed everything. I enjoyed the session. It was straightforward. It was educative, especially the UI part of the session. I can't wait to start working with the UI, and also I can't wait to see what this UI has in store for us in the future. Check.
Okay,
Right.
I think I'm the next now. Okay, I'll give the section 6. Okay, I can't wait to actually start working and get to know what the UI has in stock for us, and also I will love more of everything we are doing to be more organized, so it could be easier to actually understand without more supervision in the future. Check.
Great. So I would say that the main thing missing is just like your guys' next steps. Like, what training do you want to do next? What work do you want to do next? What client work income do you want to do? So I think that would be kind of like some of the next steps. And this could also relate some to our UI trainings for supporting new recruits. So what kind of trainings would these? Obviously, getting organized and understanding workflows is so important. Like how to choose and ask for help with work needs to be clear. So I think that Amica is part of that in terms of training. And then also we want to do client work income deliverables organizing, right? And this would come under Nexus, right? So I think that there should be access very, very soon, within a couple weeks, or if not a week or week and a half, to both of these agents, or at least Nexus, to answer questions and do training on how to take on client work, how to take on work in general, and to be organized as a new worker. Because as humans, I am never going to be able to help you with that. Like I can try, but no one ever understands me and no one gets it. But I believe that the UI agents will have a better time customizing the needs of each individual new recruit to understand how to explain it to you. Because I can only explain it to myself. I can only understand it my own perspective, and for whatever reason it doesn't work for other people. So if we can train the UI agents, then you can work with the UI agents to get help and support on how to get organized with your client work and your overall work with the organization. Okay, because I think that's the main thing missing here. Cool. So I think we're done. Any other last question on anything? Otherwise, let's make sure we just do our value hours tracking. So this was all 4 of us. I think we all basically did the same hours. Jay, Martins, Bright, Doris. We all did basically I guess technically we did 2 separate things here. We did the setup wrap up, which is pretty short. Let's say that was 20 minutes. And then we did the orientation. So I don't know exactly how long the orientation was, but it was like pretty long. And this would be for Bright and Doris. So Bright and Doris did the orientation, whereas like myself and Martins, we didn't do the orientation. We did the trainer part of it. So we were here doing the training, and that was like 1.5 hours. So I don't know exactly how long we were here, but let's check. So we started at 1, it's like 1, 2, 2.5 hours. Okay. So it should add up to 2.5 hours. So this is 0.5, let's just say 0.5 plus, that's 2 hours. So we must have done 2 hours of orientation. For 2, so the total is 2.5 hours. Oh no, but the first part, we didn't actually do any work. We started 15 minutes late, right? So I would say 1.75 hours. Because we started kind of late. Okay. So you can still track that additional 0.5 hours and anything you did to prepare for the session and everything, but that would go on your your own work tracking. But the actual session lasted 2 hours and 15 minutes. Does that make sense? The difference between the session tracking and your personal tracking. Your personal tracking would add an additional 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour for preparation and getting things prepared for the session for your general work and not for the actual session. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so I think we are done. Any other last questions? Otherwise, I think we're good.
Question for you.
Cool.
Please kindly respond to my message on Discord.
For sure. And then the only other thing that I am going to do here is make sure that we copy and paste the recording.
I think I did that.
You already got the recording?
Yes, I did it.
So we go to setup. Yeah, the recording's right here. So this is from my channel. Perfect. And usually I would put that right here, and then we also like to usually make it green so that, whoops, so that we can verify that it's been done and completed properly. Yeah. Great. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. You take care.